The coronavirus outbreak has delayed and stopped a lot of productions. It's also closed theaters, pushing back releases and throwing the whole industry up in the air, really. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but Disney's recently announced that Mulan will be available on demand through Disney+. So is all this temporary, or will streaming and on-demand last beyond the pandemic? That's what we'll be discussing on this week's episode of We Understood That Reference. I'm Clayburn.
And I'm Nikhil.
So what's the latest? I mentioned Mulan. I think Tenet also has a few rough dates set, focusing on an international release. And there's also Wonder Woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where do these release plans stand right now?
So Tenet's the first one up. It's going to be releasing on September 4th. And that's actually going to theaters. And it's going to compete with Mulan, which is also releasing on September 4th. But that's going straight to digital.
Mm-hmm. And so is Tenet, they're going to theaters all around the world?
In the theaters that are open, or in the territories that are open.
Which I guess, last I heard, America has about half of their theaters open.
Yeah. So where available, you'll be able to see Tenet.
Okay. So it's pretty big caveat. Who knows if you'll be able to actually watch it or not.
Yeah.
But do you think people are even going to theaters yet? First of all, there's not really much to see. I hear that some theaters are running some old showings of things like Star Wars and Jurassic Park and some classics. But is there a turnout for this stuff?
Not really, no. The box office has been very low, both here and overseas. The latest report from China, where a lot of their movie theaters are open, the box office is like 1/10 of what it used to be.
Yeah, so even in some of the countries that are a bit over the hump of this already and have started to open up, people still seem a bit reluctant to go to theaters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when there's not like a big release out,
Mm-hmm. And so with Tenet, though, it'll of course be a big release that might draw people to the theaters despite the potential dangers in that. But do you think it's going to be like a profitable move for them?
I don't know. That's a really great question. It's the first time that this thing is going to be tested. So I think everyone's going to be watching to see what the results are for Tenet.
As opposed to Mulan, which, Disney is going the on-demand route. And now, do you have to be a Disney Plus subscriber as well, on top of the $30, right, that you have to spend to actually watch Mulan?
Exactly. So it's an add-on to Disney Plus. So you can't download the movie unless you have a Disney Plus subscription. Mm-hmm. So you have to pay your $6.99 a month, and on top of that, you have to get $29.99 just for Mulan. But you'll be able to watch it as many times as you want, as long as you have
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So it basically it unlocks it for your account. Of course, at some point, Mulan is probably going to hit streaming on Disney Plus normally anyway, right? Like if you don't pay that $30 in 2-3 years, however long they want to wait, Mulan will probably be added to that catalog anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because the other caveat is that if you cancel your subscription, then that's lost.
Do you think then what do you think would be the most kind of business smart decision here? Do you think Tenet is going to be able to draw a lot of people to the theater and make some of their money from that, or is maybe the streaming idea a bit better? Of course, Disney has an advantage, I guess, having the streaming service too, even though Mulan is an add-on. It's still perhaps a promotion for their streaming service. And like you said, people have to subscribe. So Mulan itself, even if the movie doesn't bring in a lot of, $30 purchases, it will, those that it does bring in might bring in additional subscribers as well.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure they're going to be watching it very closely to see what the results are, and it's really an experiment for Disney too.
Yeah.
The one thing is they get to keep all of the money. Like if they have it PVOD, like premium video on demand, on like Apple or through another carrier, a portion of that revenue goes to the service provider. So in this case, Disney gets to keep all of that.
Yeah.
$29.99.
Yeah, which is pretty scary ground here, because obviously Disney has the streaming service and also has Hulu and makes a lot of content, and most other content producers, they don't have that. Some are getting in the game. HBO, I guess, and Warner through HBO are doing that,
right?
And Comcast and NBC, Universal, all of that is going through Peacock. But you do have a ton of other studios that I guess don't really have access to their own streaming service. So if they wanted to release a movie this way, they'd have to end up paying either Apple or Amazon or somebody, and Netflix, a cut of whatever deal they work out.
Yeah, that's right. This is like Hollywood changing right before our eyes. Like the weekend of September 4th, every industry insider is going to be watching to see what the results are.
Yeah, which I guess brings us to the important point here is this temporary, or do you think the shift is going to have lasting consequences here? Obviously, there's a big financial incentive for studios like Disney and that have their own streaming services to bypass third-party partners or even theaters who obviously take cuts of the box office. So, if they get a lot of direct money from Mulan, they might wonder why they even need theaters in the first place.
Right. Well, I think you always need theaters. And I think that the current business model is kind of great because they get to sell you the same product like 5 different times. Like they'll sell it to you in the theaters and you go to see it in the theaters. Then you can't, then you purchase it or you get it on premium video on demand and then you see it, on TV and get ad revenue, or you get it on a streaming service and you get, subscription money. So they're selling you the same product like 4 times, which is a great model.
Not to mention all the merchandising and video games.
And I think that movies just feel bigger when they're in the movie theater versus being able to see them on at home. It just feels more special. It just feels like an experience.
Yeah, it's hard to tell for me because right now, like with Mulan anyway, when this first started, we had already bought tickets to watch Mulan. So we were ready to go.
Wow.
We had been looking forward to Mulan. And then, of course, this hit in the US and everything closed down. And so Mulan got delayed, pushed back to, I don't know, like July or something. Yeah. And then, of course, at that point, then it was seeming like, well, even that is not going to happen. And so all we wanted to do in early March was watch Mulan, and then we had our tickets and we were ready. And now we've just been waiting for Mulan to actually come out.
Yeah.
And initially, obviously, it was going to be go to the theater and watch it. It's a night out and it's an event. And now I can't tell if it's just at this point I'm just tired. I'm just ready to watch it. Like just give me Mulan already. That I don't care if it's on streaming. Or if streaming is actually just good enough.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the movie theater. I love the experience. So for me, that's definitely what I favor. I would rather see something on the big screen than at home. But in a normal circumstance, I think that now that we're like barely leaving the house, the calculation is a little different. But I would be devastated if like movie theaters went away.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see sort of how I feel once things kind of return to normal. And it's hard to say, when that might be. Even as theaters open up, I think a lot of people are still going to be avoiding crowded areas and going out to places like theaters. So I probably wouldn't for a while.
Oh yeah.
So then, it's streaming though. On the other hand, I do like streaming. I watch a ton of TV shows and even movies on Netflix and Amazon. So I've gotten pretty used to it. So I guess it'll be interesting to see if I'm still drawn to the theater or not. But I get what you're saying about that. It being an experience, especially like IMAX and these big blockbusters, like we had gone and watched Avengers and all of those, and we're usually there opening day or opening weekend to watch those. It is an event, but one question is is it an event that's worthwhile, kind of, because when I watched Star Wars episode 7, I think it was 7, episode 9 actually.
Oh, the newest one.
I think so. Well, I don't exactly remember which one. That's the thing is they all weren't too memorable, but this is more about the theater experience of it. And I don't really remember which one it had occurred in. But we went to the theater and it was crazy packed. It was an IMAX showing, completely packed. And we sat by this woman who she kept getting mad at, or right towards the end of the movie, she got mad at us. Because my wife was asking questions. She would whisper in my ear every now and then and say like, who's that? Because she doesn't know Star Wars, so she'd ask occasionally. And then like in the last 5 minutes of the movie, she yelled at us and said something about how we had been talking through the whole movie, which is not the case. Like my wife was actually cupping my ear and whispering, and it's just the fact that we're all sitting very close, and it's crowded, and I feel like that's something you kind of have to forgive. If you're going to go out to the theater, there's going to be people, there's going to be noise, there's going to be distractions. You can't avoid that. And then sometimes there's going to be annoying women next to you that yell at you at the end of the movie. And so, like in reality, like I don't want to watch these movies with those people generally. Like I think there is something special sometimes about like going to Star Wars or one of these big blockbusters, and you're there with an audience, and they're clapping whenever the LucasArts logo appears, the Lucasfilm logo appears, and they are laughing with you at the jokes and all of that. And so there is that nice kind of live aspect to it. But at the same time, like, I would be fine just sitting on my couch, with my wife watching this as well.
Yeah, she can ask all the questions she wants.
Yeah, and then I can pause it and explain.
You can pause it.
Explain things as well. Yeah, that's the other thing. You can't pause in theater. And I had always wondered, like, if I had a theater, I would wonder if there's some kind of way you could give controls, like, to the audience where, like, if enough people hit the pause button, then it'll go ahead and pause it.
Oh, wow, that would
or
be...
something. And, like if there's some kind of way to, like, give the audience some control in that experience.
Oh, wow. That would be chaos. Like the movie would take like 4 hours to get through.
yeah. They have everything timed out, so they can't do that. But I think that does get at the question of how much of the theater going experience is positive versus how much is kind of stuff that ultimately streaming can get rid of, and are we better off?
Well, so that's actually one of the reasons I love going like opening weekend, because you can usually separate like the people who are very like into something versus the passive moviegoer. And so if you go opening weekend, you're gonna go see a movie with like the hardcore fans, and that's always the most fun for me, even if it's like something that I'm not a big fan of, like the Harry Potter movies. Like I was a pretty passive fan, but I would love going opening weekend to be with that energy in that room with that crowd.
Yeah.
It added to the experience where people get all of the inside jokes, and sometimes it's like the crowd reaction is the part of the movie I remember the most. Like in Frozen 2, when the snowman melted and like this woman started like hysterically crying next to me.
Spoiler.
and then more spoilers, like he's gonna get remade in like 20 minutes. It's a Disney movie.
Yeah, I don't know, like I guess I don't really care as much about the kind of audience participation. I guess sometimes it's nice when there's like a big moment that like actually moves a lot of people, and like moves them to applause, for instance. Like that's amazing. Like it's a lot of times it happens with like the badass woman moments that they do a lot now in movies. Like the woman comes out and she like puts the figure of the patriarchy in his place, saying some kind of sassy line, and then at that point like the audience is just like starts applauding and wooing and everything. And so like whenever it's that kind of moment that's like tied into something that's a bit more meaningful than just what's going on with that individual character, but it's almost like a statement on society at large, and you have an audience that's participating in that, any kind of like underdog story of where we're getting behind this person, not just as that character, but in terms of what they stand for and what they represent. That's nice. The laughing, though, I'm not a big fan of that just in general, because like when you're laughing at a joke, if too many people are laughing, then you kind of can't hear what's coming next.
Sometimes.
And then also sometimes people laugh at random things that aren't that funny, or they maybe misinterpret something that it's not really supposed to be a joke, or it's a bit of an awkward moment or something where you think that it's going to be a joke, and so you're laughing kind of more of the just to break the tension. And then that can be a bit of a strange movie theater experience.
I don't know, like I've been to comedies where I've gone like opening weekend and the crowd's really into it and laughing and clapping and having a loud time, and then I've seen the movie again like 3 weeks later where the theater is like a quarter full, and the joke comes out, like the joke lands, and like no one really makes a sound, and it's a totally different movie going experience in a negative way.
Yeah, I do know. So more recently, I guess I don't go to the theater to watch a lot of the typical comedy shows. Like it's been so long, like The Hangover and those kind of things. I wouldn't go watch like 40-year-old version. That kind of
I love those.
I would call it college humor stuff. Like I don't go watch it at the theater, but one that I did go watch that was a pretty funny one was the new Jumanji movies, and that first one with The Rock. We went and watched it in a theater, and that was a pretty amazing experience. Everybody, it was also like very family friendly too. So there were quite a bit of kids there, and then there was funny moments because there were occasional jokes that were sort of more adult oriented, and then you have these kids in the audience, and it's funny how they are laughing to it. And then I don't remember what the exact line was, but there was something in the movie that must have made some kind of adult joke or something. And I remember a little kid after the laugh, everyone laughed at the joke. The little kid said something to the mom or to his mom or dad, whoever. You could just hear the kid say like, "What's a penis?" or "What's sex?" or whatever. Like it was some kind of word that they didn't know, and it was just. And then the audience laughed at that because everybody heard this kid ask, what is that? And so I guess it makes for unique experiences, certainly. But do you have any like favorite kind of theater experiences? Any particular movie that you're just so glad you went to the movies to watch?
Oh, totally. So let's see. Spoilers for Kung Fu Panda. I remember at the end of that movie, it was like the big reveal was that, the secret is that there is no secret. Mm-hmm. And then there was one kid in the crowd and he goes, "Oh, snap." Like during the big reveal.
Yeah.
And that was like the funniest joke in the entire movie. And it wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminded me of there's a Seinfeld episode where George goes to the movies and he makes a joke about, and he's watching like the Hindenburg blow up, and he makes a joke, says, "That's gotta hurt," and people laugh. And then so he like starts going back every night basically to do the same routine so that he can get the joke. But then in one night, there's some dude with a laser who's like pointing the laser at the screen and circling things. And so everyone's laughing at the laser guy. And then when his line comes up and he says, "Oh, that's gotta hurt," nobody was even paying attention really. They were all laughing at the laser guy. And so it just kind of came out of nowhere, and everyone's like, "What's with this loser yelling this line out?" And it was a funny moment. But I don't know, it's going to be weird. Like I feel like kind of the next generation, they might be watching an old Seinfeld rerun or something, and they'll be like, "Why are people in this theater watching a movie anyway?" They might grow up just where streaming is commonplace. Yeah. And then I guess that, for the audience participation aspect, do you think that streaming will ever get to some point of, obviously they have like live streams and things like that where you have chat rooms and you can send emoticons or emojis around and there is some audience participation in that regard. But do you think you'll ever crack that where it's a little more like a theater experience, even like where you're, watching something on Netflix with your mom in another state, and you're both able to like basically watch the same show at the same time, but also like video chat each other at the same time, so you can hear what you're saying about the movie or see your reactions and things like that. Do you think there'll ever be some kind of solution for that for streaming?
I don't know, maybe. Like that's actually a great kind of business pitch, but like a watch along party kind of a thing. I honestly don't think that you can recreate the organic theater experience online. I honestly don't think that you can. I think you can attempt to do it. I think that actually may be a profitable thing to attempt, but I don't think that you can successfully one-to-one create that kind of an event feel.
Yeah, and I guess the thing is, even if you can't replicate it one-to-one, if you can come up with something that's still kind of serving the same purpose. And I don't know, I don't watch a lot of like live streams or that people do a lot of video game streams, I guess, on Twitch, and so I do think that there are elements of this that people really get into, for the audience at least, that they must enjoy sending these emojis out. And every now and then I'll catch like a live event on YouTube that I'm watching just because it's a live event that's important to watch. But then they'll have the chat running alongside, and I always am wondering, like, who are these people? Why are they talking during this? Like, who cares? You're basically chatting with strangers in a YouTube video, and I don't really get the point of it. But apparently, a lot of people do engage that way. So there might be something that, I don't know if it's, I don't think anyone's yet cracked it, but there might be some kind of equivalent, online equivalent that maybe Disney Plus will figure out, or Netflix or someone.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Like if it's a closed circuit and it's only like you and your friends, or you and like, one other person, where you can kind of, have a shared experience at the same time watching a program or a show or a movie.
Yeah. And I guess the other option would be, you could always just, put a Craigslist ad for a bunch of strangers to show up to your house and watch something with you.
And then leave popcorn on the floor as they're leaving.
Yeah, make sure spill their Coke and make sure the floor is extra sticky.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have that.
We want the full experience.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I think right now watch parties are pretty popular, especially for TV shows, like big finales of TV shows. People do, invite a lot of friends over and watch. But it is funny how there's a different experience there when you're doing like a watch party, because you can pause it. You can pause it. People are talking. It's a bit more of a party than it is a watch party.
Yes.
And sometimes that annoys people, and sometimes that's what they want. Like some people, they want you to shut up and watch the thing, and that's what you're here for. We're all here to watch this. Don't ask questions, don't talk about something else. And then the other people will be like, I thought this is a party, like we're watching it, but that's just on in the background while,
exactly.
It's an excuse for us to come together. And so they're like trying to carry on a normal party. So I guess that really just depends on your own group of friends there.
Yeah, that's true. That's like the Super Bowl. I always feel bad for the people who like really want to sit down and watch the game, and like because everyone else is just there for a good time.
Yeah, so like nobody wants to watch the game. We're all here for the commercials.
Yeah.
Just tell us when the commercials are on. Yeah. But the one thing I was surprised about with the Mulan announcement was the $30. It seems high, but then, I've never been much of an on-demand type person anyway. Like those prices always seem high to me. Like it's $4, I think, to rent something on Amazon usually. And that seems ridiculous to me. Of course, I guess it's fairly in line with what you would expect to pay at like a, video store rental back in the day. I remember we had in my hometown, we had, I think, $2 new releases. So for $2, you could rent a new release, and then 50 cents was for like a lot of the old classics. And of course, that was a small town. It was also a locally owned shop. So I'm sure that like the larger chains probably had higher price points. And then that was also, the 90s. So I don't know, like $4 in 2020 is probably pretty similar to $2 in 1995. So I don't think it's ridiculous to charge $4 to rent a movie, but at the same time, I can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. The thing like with the $29.99 is like if you're selling this to like a family, like if it's just one person watching it, then the $29.99 is kind of a steep price. But if it's like a family of four that was going to go to the theaters and gonna go, that's if it's 4 tickets plus concessions, you just saved like $30.
Yeah, so it's cheaper for your night out at the theater.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're kind of basing their price point at, because that was supposed to be a theatrical release. And then if you have multiple people watching it, you're kind of getting, and also a lot of these big blockbusters make a lot of money on repeat viewing, people who go see movies like 3, 4, 5 times. So with something like this, you can see Mulan as many times as you want. So that's kind of factored in there a little bit too.
Yeah, so like since you probably spent $60 or $80 watching Civil War, Captain America Civil War, going to watch it so many times, it would have been cheaper if you just spent your $30 and unlocked it on Disney Plus.
I suppose, but it wouldn't have been the same.
The only downside, I guess, or for Disney, I would say, is that they don't have a slate of movies to test this with. Like basically Mulan's going to be their only go at it, and then they only have the one shot for this price point.
Right.
But it would be nice if they had, a few different options, different kinds of movies, and different price points that they could work with and see sort of where the sweet spot is.
Well, so the thing is that they're being like very diplomatic about this because like the theater chains like AMC, Regal, they don't want this at all. This is cutting into their business.
Yeah.
Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, has said that Mulan is a one-off. This is the only time we're doing this. It's because of extenuating circumstances. don't get mad at us.
Yeah, and I'm sure if there's anyone you can trust, it's Disney.
Yeah. Because they've also spent like a lot of money in piloting this new thing, so they've put a lot of money into the technology of like allowing you to upsell within Disney Plus, a whole new feature within their streaming service. If it's successful, it's not going to be a one-off.
Yeah, I can't imagine this actually being a one-off. And then also just with I forget who signed the deal, but AMC apparently signed a deal with
right. Universal.
Someone about with Universal, and then some other theaters are obviously mad about that. But the truth is, I don't think theaters have any bargaining chips here. Even though I do think a lot of people like going to theaters and will go to theaters, I feel like there's enough money to be made streaming with the people who are fine with that. Especially when you consider there's no cut to the theater owners. That's pure profit basically. It's just an impossible situation, because why I feel like if you were Disney, certainly if you were Disney and Universal, who have their own streaming services, why would you even want theaters to survive? You would be looking at this like theaters are obsolete. We don't care if you show our stuff or not. You probably want to, because otherwise nobody's going to be going to the theater if they don't have access to Jurassic World and the Avengers and all of that. So good luck theaters surviving when all they have are indie films to show in the first place. But then at the same time, like, if theaters are there or if they're not there, they can still make the money directly. I guess we'll see if that's true once Mulan launches. But I can't imagine this not being profitable, just because of how there's no real cost to them anymore, and there's no profit sharing. So it's just money going straight to them, and then also just because of how accessible it is. I feel that's the other thing, is that theaters here in New York especially are often packed. But I think if you were to look around the world or around the country, more rural areas, it's probably less packed. Generally, just because there's not enough people to support it, and not everybody can afford to go to the theater and spend that money, and then also the hassle of it all. Actually driving out there, and actually, especially if you have family, and you got to get all your family together and take them out to the movies. So streaming is just really easy. Even if it's less special, it's so easy that basically every day you could watch a movie streaming. You get home from work and you can put on a movie. Whereas going to the movies, that's maybe a once in a month outing at most for probably the average American.
Yeah, that's true. Like New York City is the biggest movie going market in the country. But I think that to counter that argument, I think the studios also benefit from the theater model, because they're able to sell you the same product like 4 times. Like, they can sell you the same product in the theaters, and then downstream they can sell it to you on premium video on demand, or on like DVD, Blu-ray. And then they can sell it to you on streaming, and then they can sell it to you like on cable through ad revenue. So I think that there's just the ability to sell you the same product several times. It has been very profitable for them.
I do think though one thing that's probably a game changer in terms of someone's decision, theater versus streaming, is their own home theater setup. And I guess it's gonna be a bigger benefit to the people who have invested in that, or even have the money to. So obviously probably like poorer families are not going to have the best television and audio equipment and everything, and even just the space. That's part of it too, especially if you want to have people over. If you just have a small TV where you have a recliner and you watch your football game every night, it might be hard to have a movie experience there. If you have a 75-inch television, then maybe you have a much better experience watching something online.
Or if you're like 22 and watching TV on your laptop or your phone.
Your college kid, just watching it on your phone on the subway. So I that's the other thing, is like I know there are already directors who are so specific about how their movies are to be viewed, where they give specific instructions to the theaters of these are the settings for the curtains and everything, and then now the on-demand streaming format just throws all that out the window, because you don't know how people are going to watch it, what device they're going to be watching it on.
True.
And so that's going to change it quite a bit. But I don't know. I'm not one who can watch movies on a cell phone or even a laptop. But I certainly see people on the subway doing it all the time. And with, big movies. Like I saw someone watching, which is the one with Bane, The Dark Knight Rises.
Right. Yeah.
I saw somebody, not I guess soon after that had come out on DVD or streaming or whatever. Somebody was watching it on their cell phone.
Oh man.
On the subway.
Hopefully it wasn't the first time.
I don't know. Maybe it was a repeat viewing or something. But if that was their first time, I'm sure there are people like that who, they're like, oh, I gotta finally watch this movie, and they just do it on their commute.
Oh yeah.
And for me, who I do like going to the theater, but at the same time, I feel like I could have a comparable experience at home, even though it's different. But in terms of enjoyment, I think it would still be on that kind of same level. Like I don't need the audience, but I do want to see a movie as soon as possible. I do want to have a nice big screen to view it on. I think the only thing is that obviously we go and watch a lot of movies when they come out. So you'd have to come over here, I guess, and catch a movie with me so we could talk about it afterwards.
Oh right, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned like a Christopher Nolan movie, because he's one of the directors that's like very adamant about the theater experience. Warner Brothers was kind of begging for a simultaneous in theater and digital release, but they caved to Christopher Nolan and gave him the theatrical release he wanted. But one interesting thing that came out of that Universal AMC deal that you mentioned earlier was that they shortened the theatrical window. So what that is the amount of time between when a movie is released in theaters and when it's allowed to be sold via PVOD. It used to be like 75 days, and now they've shortened it to 17 days. So, and it must include 3 weekends. So for new movies coming out, so like new new Universal movies coming out, the deal with AMC is that they must be shown in theaters for minimum 17 days, inclusive of 3 weekends, and after that you can release the same movie on digital.
It's really in this case, the studios getting their cake and eating it too, because the only people that really benefit from the long term in theaters are the theaters themselves,
right?
And everyone who wants to see Endgame or Star Wars or whatever, they go watch it in the first 2 weeks at least. So if you haven't seen a movie in theaters at that point, you weren't really that interested in it.
True.
And so by having it have to stay a long time, what you are doing is that whenever somebody's out on a Friday night and there's nothing else to watch that they haven't seen already, then they end up just going to some random movie. And of course it benefits the theater that they do that. But now the movie studios, they get to have the big blockbuster opening weekends at theaters, where you have a huge box office, and then after that they just pull them and they put them on their streaming service, and they immediately cut out the middleman soon after. It kind of sucks for the theaters, but at the same time, like I said, I don't think they're in a good bargaining position. And so my view of it is AMC sees the writing on the wall, and they just want to get a deal that keeps them relevant, versus one that is basically at the entire discretion of the studios. So at least now they get some time, versus the other option of just basically having to put up with whatever the studios offer them.
Yeah. And like that 17 days, like the movie can run for longer than 17 days, but at the 17-day mark, like the studio has the option of releasing it, on
putting
digital.
it on streaming as well.
Yeah.
So that's good though, because in a way, and that's why I feel like AMC took the deal, because ultimately like they see the writing on the wall, like right. Like if you go out to the theater right now and there's nothing, like you might watch Sonic the Hedgehog or something, and if it's there, then fine. But the other side of it is that this will all be available online if you want to watch it too. But people still will be going out to the theaters, just because that's the one, once things return to normal, just because that's what people do on a Friday, or they go to the theater. A lot of times people go without knowing what they're going to watch. They show up there and they just look at what's available and they say, okay, that. Especially people, I think, who have kids, they just take their kids and then say, okay, kids, what do you want to watch?
Oh yeah, totally. I think we used to do that when we were young. We just go there and be like, so what's on right now?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me that it's going to do away with is the double features, which I guess started more as a kind of a cost saving things. I guess you and we would get a double feature a lot too. But for me, it's mostly about, the hassle of going into the city
Oh yeah.
in the first place. Like I don't want to I don't want to go in and just watch one movie and then leave. Like I want to make the most of the trip.
Right.
And then the other thing too is that ticket prices had gotten so out of hand lately that like it's $30 pretty much for a movie ticket these days. So a lot of times like I don't care. Like I'm not gonna pay $60 to watch 2 movies. Like I'll pay $30 to watch 2 movies. I feel like that's fair. So I'll say I'll buy 1 ticket and I'll watch 2 movies. Of course, sneaking into one of the movies. But to me, it makes the cost more reasonable, and so then I can justify the cost in the first instance. And then the other thing too, when I have the opportunity, I like to actually buy the ticket from a studio film that's more of an independent one rather than the blockbuster. So if I can avoid paying Disney to watch a Disney movie, then I'll do that. I'll buy the ticket for a non-Disney movie, and then I'll sneak into the Disney movie if I can work it out that way. A lot of times you don't have the option. It's basically you have to buy a Disney movie ticket because that's all that's showing.
Right. That's one thing I'm curious about. Like AMC is in such like financial straits right now. I was always curious like why a studio didn't buy AMC.
My understanding is, and I guess it's changed possibly lately, but my understanding is that the movie studios aren't allowed to own theaters. There's some kind of legal rule against it, but I believe that was appealed or repealed. Although I don't know if it was an exact rule or if it was more like just of a guideline or something to say like, whoever it is, the FCC or whoever was like, don't buy a theater because if you do, we're gonna, have to break you up. An antitrust violation or something.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a hard line rule to say, for sure you can't own it. I think it was more just, if you do this, we're gonna have to take action. So don't do it. And they pretty much all agreed to it. But I think lately, the FCC or whoever it is sort of relaxed that guideline because I remember seeing some headlines about it. So now the idea is that like Disney could buy AMC. The question is I don't know if they would want to, just because I think most people are seeing that the theater industry is just probably not a big moneymaker these days.
Yeah, I mean, like Disney took on a lot of debt with the Fox acquisition.
Yeah,
and they really haven't had enough time to kind of recoup that money because the pandemic hit like about a year and a half after that deal was done. So they don't really have the money. Of course,
to do it. And that's the thing too, is if anyone could do it, it's probably Disney. Like I'm sure Universal and these other places wouldn't mind having a theater, but I just feel like it wouldn't be very profitable just because, they might still make some money and maybe it makes them a little bit, but it just probably is not worth the headache of buying it and running it in the first place, just because theaters aren't huge money makers anymore. And then the other side of it though, for Disney, I think they're sort of in a better position where they could do that because one, they're Disney, they own so much media anyway. It would be kind of a volume game that would work on their behalf better. But also with their experience with like Disneyland type stuff, where they could basically kind of make miniature Disneylands out of every theater. So the idea of going to a Disney theater is no longer like going to a regular movie theater. It's itself an attraction of some kind.
Wow.
Where you have, rather than ushers, you have Disney princess there, or you have these like Disney characters.
That'd be cool.
I guess the Disney princesses wouldn't be picking up popcorn and stuff, but you could have like I don't know,
the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah, some of the minions or something of not the DreamWorks minions, but the minions from other Disney films could be there doing something. You dress up like the Agrabah guards or whoever, like those guys, the cannon fodder of Disney movies.
Oh yeah, totally. That would be awesome, actually.
Yeah, but then you could still have a Disney princess there ready to sell you a ticket or something, or just hanging out, signing autographs or taking pictures or whatever it is Disney princesses do.
I think that's a great idea, actually. Like that, what you just described, like I want to go there. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure like that's the only thing. But on the other side of it too, obviously there's the antitrust violations and side of things there. Yeah, as cool as it would be as an experience, like I would rather live in a world where Disney sort of didn't own everything than the world where Disney does own everything, which is where we're moving.
Yeah. I heard that Netflix was trying to buy a couple like small theaters like in New York and LA, not like a chain, but like just a few movie houses.
Sort of like how Amazon does with bookstores.
Yeah. No, but for a purpose to like screen some of their films for awards contention.
Yeah, I think it probably will happen because I had seen some headlines about that rule's not in place anymore. It'll probably depend a lot on the election and things moving forward, because obviously, like, you have the Republicans and the Republican Party very pro-business. They're fine with conglomerates and all of that. Democrats maybe a little less so, but certainly that progressive element, like you got the Bernie Sanders and the Ocasio-Cortezes within the Democratic Party that are really, they wouldn't even stand for Disney existing as it does today. So if for some reason they get enough power in the next few years, then that stuff would probably be pretty unlikely. But like, Joe Biden, he's you're fairly centrist Democrat that's not gonna,
Right.
he's not gonna bring the hammer down on Disney.
Right.
But he might, stop them from owning theaters. So I guess we'll just have to see where things go.
Yeah, and I haven't really heard too much chatter about like a studio actually buying a theater chain. I was just curious, like,
Yeah, I don't think anyone's made the move yet.
yeah, but if they're trying to like streamline the model with like having their own, streaming service and kind of owning the product end to end, and there's the distribution channel,
Yeah.
why owning a theater chain didn't come up was something I was curious about.
Yeah, I think that's just it. It's just because of the guideline or rule or whatever against it.
Yeah.
But also too, like I said, it's just not as profitable, and I think streaming is priority for them because they figure that's something that they can more easily control and have ownership of. And if they ever do get to the point of owning theaters, I see that as more as like a phase 2. First, let's get the streaming distribution figured out and the video on demand, and then after that, they can bring on some some theaters, in-person theaters if they need to.
Do you think like that the paid model, like the $29.99, is going to like one day apply to like popular shows? Like, what if they started charging you, $2 for every Marvel show that came out?
Yeah, see that's what's interesting though about this whole thing is that for me, I watch a lot of streaming already, and TV shows are huge, and they seem bigger budgets and better quality in a lot of cases than your average movie now. Like this is, hours and hours and hours for a season,
Right.
whereas a movie is literally just the 2 hours, if that somebody puts together, and then it's done. And so you have just so much time invested in watching this TV show, and also on the other end of producing it. And they've become very, kind of glamorous these days. Everyone loves Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones until it, shat the bed. But they get this huge mass appeal in a way that a lot of movies either don't, unless you're like, the Avengers or something. So I'm surprised that, movies are still kind of the point of contention for streaming of this, and that nobody's sort of done that yet with TV shows. Like, why not release a TV show and charge for it?
Yeah. Especially like when it's something that's very popular, or that is going to be popular, or is going to drive traffic. Like for me, like I'm waiting for the Marvel shows to start before getting my Disney Plus subscription. So, and if they said, oh, it's going to be $2 per episode, I'd be like, fine, here's $2.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they ever do a Lizzie McGuire reboot or something, then maybe they can charge for that and see how it goes.
I think they are, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go then.
That's the one with Hilary Duff, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I wish she did more. I'd never watched Lizzie McGuire, so I don't really know what that is all about. But I've seen her in a few movies afterwards, and she's really good. So I'm not really sure, why she's not more well known, because I thought Lizzie McGuire was a huge thing.
Yeah.
It was probably before my time, but it seems like younger people all watch that. But I guess we'll have to see, what they do about charging for content. But for me, I guess, Netflix, and I have Amazon, but only as an accident, I guess, because I have Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And I guess it like comes with it automatically. So I haven't done any like add-ons on top of that. But like I said, for $4, I wouldn't rent a movie on Amazon. I don't know, like I would be resistant to spending money, which I guess brings us to another point. Do you think piracy is going to come back?
Oh, yeah. Huge.
To the forefront because of this?
That's the other issue. Like once it's online, you can't control it. Like when it's in a movie theater, you can kind of like there's a huge difference between a pirated, someone sneaking a camera into a movie theater and pirating it that way versus a digital rip.
Yeah.
Like, it's two different worlds. So like that's the other argument for theaters is that, once it's on digital, it's a whole new world.
Yeah, it keeps it out of the hands of pirates for a while, and then they can make all their money off of it. But now once you go Mulan streaming, like, one person's going to pay $30 and then it's going to be online immediately for free for all who wants it. So Yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see, the effect there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that's probably we're gonna run into that situation with if this becomes kind of the norm. Like if you are charging, it's kind of like me with the $25 movie ticket price.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay $25 to go watch a movie, but I'm gonna sneak into a second movie because I don't think any movie is worth $25.
Oh, yeah.
But same with the piracy, where you might have a Disney Plus subscription and maybe you pay $30 for Mulan, but then you're not going to pay, another, I don't know, $10 for a Marvel series and then another $15 for some other movie. And, you're not going to keep shelling out all this money just for additional stuff. So I feel like for the people who know how to pirate, they're just gonna go that route, even if they still have the subscription. So you'll still be giving some money to these studios, just not as much as you should, I guess, because you'd rather break the law.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But nothing will compare to like that theater experience. Like when you're in the theater and Captain America picks up Thor's hammer and the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so I just don't know when that theater experience is going to come back. What do you think will be the first movie that the two of us go and see again in theaters?
Maybe Black Widow or the Eternals. Maybe.
Probably not Tenet, though.
Not Tenet. No, not Tenet. The next movie I will see in theaters will be Black Widow. Whenever it comes out. That's what I've decided. That's when I'm going back to theaters.
Yeah. So when it's safe enough for Black Widow, then it's safe enough for Nikhil to venture outside of his home.
Yes, exactly.
Just wear a mask and go watch Black Widow.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's coming out in November. I will see what happens we'll see how Mulan does. Honestly, if Mulan does really well, that's what I was gonna say. So someone did the math on this, and there are I think 60 million Disney Plus subscribers, and if a quarter of those purchases Mulan, so and you also have to remember that like people who subscribe to Disney Plus are the people who are most likely to actually buy Mulan or are interested in that and fall under like the same demographic group. So if you have a quarter of those buying it, then Mulan will be profitable. It'll be like the equivalent of like $800 million box office, which Disney would get $400 million of. So that's kind of like the mark. If they can get 25% of the people who already subscribe to Disney Plus to buy this product, it'll be a huge success.
If they get 40%, then there's probably never going to be a movie in theaters ever again.
No, 25%.
No, that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying if they get 40%,
I see what you're saying.
Then Disney's just going to say, okay, well, this is the new future.
Yeah, maybe.
And then Black Widow will not come out in theaters.
Maybe.
Because Disney will want all the money.
Yeah, could be.
I feel like at this point we should just go ahead and just, maybe skip to that point. Let's just give Disney all our money, and then they can just everything will be free. Like just have our paychecks direct deposit into Disney's account.
Yeah.
Disney can just own everything.
Yeah.
It'll be like Wall-E, just keep us fat and fed and watching movies, and Disney can own the earth.
True.
They'll rebrand it, I guess.
Disney World.
Disney World. That's why they named it that. Yeah, they knew what they wanted from the beginning.
It was an Easter egg. But I also think there's like something to the novelty of it. When Trolls World Tour came out, and that was the first theatrical movie to go straight to digital. It was huge. It made like $90 million in its off of streaming in its first 3 days, which like who knows, even if it went to theaters, if it would have made $90 million, which is a very good opening for a movie like that. So it was this big splash and everyone started talking, is everything going to go straight to digital? And then the second movie to do it was, I believe, Scoob, like the Scooby-Doo movie from Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. And Warner Brothers has been like pin drop silent about the revenue for that. So that probably means that it didn't do very well.
That's just because they don't want the embarrassment of having the Scooby-Doo property completely decimated by trolls.
Yes,
Trolls like true. Set the bar, and then Scooby-Doo, who's been around forever, can't hold a candle to that.
That's true. And I saw the trailer for Scooby. It looked actually pretty good.
Yeah, I imagine it was decent, but like I'm not gonna watch an animated Scooby-Doo movie. I mean, I'm not even going to watch a live action one at this point. Like Scooby-Doo, I think is run its course.
Yeah, but would you see it in theaters?
Oh, definitely not.
Okay.
I mean, I did see Cats though in theaters. So if it was a double feature that I don't have to pay for,
how was
then
that?
maybe. But Cats was horrible. But I don't think I paid for Cats. I don't remember which one. I think we bought a ticket for Ad Astra.
Oh, I took a good nap during that.
Actually,
movie.
no, that was probably Star Wars. That was probably the Star Wars day. Actually, that might have been triple feature day for us. I don't know, but we did one. I think for Cats, which also at this point we had the AMC A-list thing, so it's unlimited movies. And so I think what we ended up doing was watching our 3 movies of the week all on one day, and one of them was Cats, and then the one we ended on was the Star Wars movie. I guess that was episode 9, and then but Cats was a terrible thing.
I saw Ad Astra, and I went with a friend, and I let her pick the seats, and she picked like the front row, and it was horrible. And then you had to like lean all the way back in the recliner seat to like just to see the full screen.
Yeah.
And then there was this. Do you remember in the movie there was like 20 minutes where he's out in space, and it's just silent, like it's dead silent. Yeah. I took a really good nap.
Yeah,
nice
I didn't see the appeal of that movie at all. But I do wonder why. Maybe this is a good case for streaming, but why the hell do they even have a first row at movie theaters? I don't understand that. Just pull that row out either. Because it doesn't work for anyone. I can't imagine anyone finding enjoyment in that, and I can just imagine the theaters the directors who they care so much about how you see their movie, and the theater follows the instructions and does everything right, but the people sitting in the first row have this completely slanted perspective of it, and it's just so ridiculous. Like I'd like to see a director create a movie specifically for the front row sometime.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And then tell the theater, as part of our instructions, you can only seat people in the front row. This movie has to be viewed in the front row.
Oh, yeah.
That's the movie-going experience that we need.
Mm-hmm. They'll make this, make less seats or make the theater bigger so you can have more rows in the back. Gotta do something.
Just make it wider so everything is the front row.
Yeah. That would be funny. I saw the third Matrix. This was when IMAX was like kind of new, and this was before they had reserved seating. And so we went to see the third Matrix movie in IMAX, and we got there and it was full. So the only seats we had were like in the front row in the corner. And you can't see the entire screen when you're up that close in IMAX. So I remember like having to like keep moving my head throughout the entire movie just to see, get what was going on.
Yeah, at least you get a workout.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I think the theaters kind of have to work to kind of improve like the theater going experience if they want to like bring people back and also like charge as much as they do.
Yeah, that's why I like the A-list thing, because I felt like I could do a double feature all the time and make it worth the trip.
That's true.
And then because of the way the AMC had their like points program, every now and then I would get like a free popcorn or something. I'd get enough points for like a free popcorn or soda. And like I'm not gonna spend $6 for a soda normally, but if I have these points that I can't do anything else with, then I might as well. But usually I'll just sneak in some M&Ms and that's good enough.
I like that program too. And then if you see like 12 movies a year, which you and I definitely do, it's worth the money.
Yeah, that's how I did the math. It was basically the price of watching one movie a month. Mm-hmm. So I figure I'll at least watch one movie a month.
Yeah, we probably watch at least 12 just in the summer, in a normal summer.
Yeah, especially when you do the double features, we'll knock them out pretty quick.
What was the last movie you saw in movie theaters before they shut down?
Probably Cats.
Oh my god!
Or no, probably Star Wars. It was probably literally Star Wars, but I think because that was in December, right? That was
Star Wars came out in December. Star Wars,
yeah, Cats and Star Wars was all that. I don't know, because then after that I went to New Mexico in February.
Okay.
And I don't know if I watched anything in January. I might have, but I don't know. I'm not sure what was out in January.
Bad Boys was like the big release.
Oh yeah, I wanted to go watch that, but I never did. I think.
Yeah, same here.
Also,
never did.
No, I was gonna say Gemini Man, but I guess that was the year before.
Yeah, that was last. Yeah, that was the previous year.
Kind of glad I didn't actually end up watching that. I wanted to go watch that just because it's Will Smith, might as well.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it'd be a good theater movie. But I never was able to make it work, and then I watched it at home finally, and it was so terrible.
Oh no.
Yeah, so kind of glad that I didn't see that one in theaters. It would have been a difficult experience. But yeah, probably my last one was I would say Cats and Star Wars.
Okay. I think Star Wars was the last one for me too, because I don't think I went in January. I was gonna go see either Bad Boys 3 or Doolittle.
Oh yeah, Doolittle.
Which I'm glad that movie came out when it did, because it totally bombed. And it's like,
oh, you know what?
Tony
No,
Jr.
I did. So the last movie I saw in theaters, it was Sonic the Hedgehog, because I went to New Mexico. And so my grandma, when I was growing up, I would often spend Sundays with my grandma, and we would usually go to that movie place that I mentioned, the hometown rental place, and we would rent a movie and we would watch it at her house. And then every now and then, if there was something good showing at the theater, we would go and watch a movie in the theater. And so my grandma basically only watched movies with me. Like she wouldn't go to the movies on her own, and there was nobody else taking her out to the movies. She wasn't somebody who would go watch movies, and so it was more of a thing that I would do with her. And then obviously I've been here in New York for a long time, so I don't see her as often. And so when we went back for that trip, I decided to take her out to the movies like we used to go when I was younger. And Sonic the Hedgehog was playing, which is like the perfect movie for my grandma, because every time we would go to the movie rental store, I would go through trying to find something good that I would want to watch. And then my grandma would be looking at covers, and she would always pick out anything that had an animal on the front. If it was a person and an animal, like Dunstan Checks In, or Monkey Trouble, or whatever. If there's usually a monkey, especially, but if there was an animal on the cover and a human, then she would always want to watch that. So then Sonic the Hedgehog, came out. I thought, okay, this is perfect. She doesn't know anything about the game. She doesn't know anything about that. But I figured, this is just going to be a fun, silly, kind of family-friendly movie, and I think she really enjoyed it a lot. But it was funny that she said that the blue cat was cute. So she just didn't know that Sonic the Hedgehog is a hedgehog, but she still enjoyed it.
That's pretty great. See, that's the thing. You can't do that with a streaming service. Like Sunday afternoons at the movies with your grandma. You can't replace that with a Netflix or a Disney Plus.
Yeah, you can't take her out to watch a blue cat.
Exactly.